Without further ado, Courtney Lee Hatch. Her sign is there, but Miss Lee Hatch is right here. Hi,
Move this way. I'm gonna go this way.
I'm following you. We have an video audio production program, so I might have a couple skills. Here we go.
You're gonna sit? Or you're just gonna stand up?
I'm gonna stand,
That's fine now.
but I won't stand in front of people.
So, Courtney Lee Hatch, Human Services Instructor for, this is my 24th year here. Bob, how long have you been here? And things are changing with the times. And so I have a couple of weird updates, but just a little bit of background information for anybody who has never been to one of these and heard about my program. Let's see, look at this technology.
Nice.
So just a couple of things that I'm gonna run through, an overview. So again, I am Courtney Lee Hatch, Human Services, 24 years. And in those 24 years, I have just taught my program, cruise along. And then every year I said, oh, I should get my master's degree. Oh, I should get my master's degree.
We've talked about that, yeah.
Talked about it a lot. I have a lot of cohorts that have gone through different programs, and I was like, I'm gonna wait for my time. And the good news, is this the good news?
It is good news.
In May, I will get my first master's degree. And this one will be in early childhood education. So that's pretty exciting for me. The better news is that I will now be able to teach dual enrollment courses in my program, which has been a long time coming. And I got the bug to go back to school, and so now I'm thinking, oh, maybe the next one will be somewhere in the social work field somehow. So yeah, I don't know why. Students, currently I have 8 level 2 students and 15 level 1 students. I had an intro class in the fall, that was full with 16. My enrollments next year, I think 2 level 2s or level 1s haven't signed up yet, but the rest of them are coming back. And my numbers actually are a little bit lower than I'm used to for next year.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
And I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think right now I look today and I have 7 signed up for level 1. Last year at this time I had 17 signed up for level 1, so I'm not really sure what's going on, but it's April, and so I can still do a little bit of work to get that number up. The other thing that's happening is my students have made this weird kind of shift. So I've always been the education sort of person. When I started teaching, it was actually health and human services. It was before we split off to education and health sciences. And I had lots of kids who wanted to go into the education field, and a lot of them wanted to go into early childhood, stay in preschool and elementary school. And that shift happened maybe a little bit last year, but this year I have so many kids who want to go in the other direction. So they want to be counselors, they want to be, I have a couple who want to strive for up here to be psychologists, go into social work. And that's different for me because I'm so used to teaching from the human development side of it, which is very important in the social work field too. But I just have to rethink how I'm going about implementing this stuff to make it applicable to what they want to do. We'll talk about the curriculum. We'll just move into the curriculum now. Because I talk a lot. Scott knows that, and I'm trying to get through this quickly. These are some of the things that I cover in years 1 and 2. Because we talk about lifespan development, a lot of this stuff spreads out over that whole lifespan. So right now in my level 1 class, we're talking about infants, and tomorrow we'll be talking about prenatal and infant trauma and how that affects the rest of your life. We just did a little thing about substance abuse and how, babies born addicted, what happens with them. So there's a lot of little pieces that continue throughout all of the different curriculum components. We do employability skills at the beginning before I send my students out into the workplace. I want to make sure that what I'm sending out is what I want to send out. So we talked about that at the beginning. We go over communication skills, ethics in the workplace, personal ethics. We talk about all of the different careers in the human services field, which every time people come in here, I go, it's this giant umbrella of thousands probably of different careers that could potentially be in human services. And then we'll do education and training. I've had the benefit of having Springfield School District's childcare centers upstairs for a couple of years. That will be ending soon, unfortunately. When they came, they brought the speech and language person, early childhood, they brought occupational development and physical development, or occupational therapy and physical therapy and special ed all into this building. So it made it really simple for me to have different people just kind of pop into my classroom and I'd be like, hey, can you just, we're talking about this. And so people would just come in and spend, 10 or 15 minutes talking to students about what they do. And then there's lots of other pieces that, we do, they really get into like brain development and how the brain works, and we do a lot of that. So oftentimes I'll tell people it's called human services. It could also be called education and behavioral science because I combine those two things. But there's a lot. I kind of wish sometimes that I had a canned curriculum that I just taught the same thing every year, and I don't. And I also teach things differently based on the students that I get in my program. So that's a little different. One of the fun pieces still related to early childhood is the Vermont Early Childhood Ed Youth Apprenticeship Program. I've had students for the last 4 years go through this. Two of them, I think I've talked to recently that have pursued the actual early childhood apprenticeship piece where they got jobs in early childhood and continued that track. Right now I have 2 students that are still involved. One works next door in the child care center and the other one works upstairs. Again, it's really easy to have the people upstairs. I'm going to miss them a lot. But it's a great, the 2 students that are doing it now are actually level 3 students. So they came to me as sophomores in level 1, did level 1 and level 2, and then came back for a 3rd year, and there's just strictly the youth apprenticeship piece. They do online training through Penn State's Better Kid Care, and then they do a CCD class, Intro to Early Childhood Education, free to them, and that gets them started in the process. So that's one of the fun things I think that we get to offer. Now that I'm going to be dual enrollmenting, that's a new word. There are a lot of options, and originally, years ago, when I worked with someone from CCD and taught, I did the introduction to early childhood education. I've taught fostering creative learning before, and the communication in the early childhood education workplace. Since then, we also have a new one, Introduction to Human Services, that we can teach. There's 2 separate growth and development courses. There's infant and toddler development and human growth and development. So one is specifically for young children, other one covers lifespan. So I teach it anyway. So for the kids to be able to actually get college credit for it, it's going to be a lot better for them. I'm also in the process of working as, this is a stop thing, but we purchased Educators Rising Curriculum a couple of years ago. And part of the piece of buying a curriculum is to go to some diversity and equity training. And then that leads to a VTSU course called Perspectives on Learning that is new for the 2025-26 school year. So I will be going to a 2-day training in May related to that. And then I can jump in if I want to next year. Sometimes I don't teach it the first year it's offered because I like to see people work out the kinks before. But that's an option also.
Talk about how you use that use the curriculum, because we've talked and it's a little unique.
Yeah, so the curriculum is really about teaching. And because I have this now heavier social work piece, a lot of it I just it's on, there's a lot on diversity and ethics. And it's kind of like, instead of doing a teacher persona, which is part of the curriculum, we talk about, okay, if you're not gonna be a teacher, how about leadership persona? What do you wanna do? What can you do to become a leader? What else? There's just so much to it. And sometimes I get students in here who need, how do I say? They want to go into the helping fields, but they need a little help first. So we really kind of dive into their role as a student first before they can go out and become a helper. And so a lot of the information from Educators Rising helps me do that. So it's actually been really good. And that's sort of, so it's like a canned curriculum that I asked for, but I tweak it a lot. And then I've been in touch a lot over the years with Carrie, Carrie Belknap.
Yes.
I was like, you.
I know where you're going.
Yeah. Carrie works over in the education department at River Valley Community College in Claremont. And we've been in touch on and off throughout the years to see if, there's anything that we want to do. But I don't want to take really big bites of this because now that I can do it, I was like, oh, I want to do this one and I want to do this one. So taking a step back and probably starting just with one or two a semester.
And some of this is related, there's a state requirement that has been upped as far as a federal requirement. And depending on the class you have you have to have a certain combination with side IRCs or dual enrollment. And
It's like I was.
she's gonna tell you more about it right now.
For that.
That was the setup. I didn't get to anything nitty gritty. I gave the administrative side to it. Go. It's gonna get really good right now.
At the state level, we have tier 1 and tier 2 credentials. Lots of other programs have different tier 2 credentials, which is what we strive for. The human services field does not. And so at the state level, they said, okay, if you don't have a tier 2 IRC, you need to do dual enrollment classes. So that was another swift.
Yeah.
But I was gonna do it anyway. So we have a lot of tier 1 credentials. I offer mandated reporter training. We do shaken baby syndrome and abusive head trauma prevention and safe sleep through Prevent Child Abuse Vermont. First aid CPR training, bloodborne pathogens. There are probably more, but wouldn't fit on very well. Some of the things that I brought up in our state human services meetings that I'm going to continue to bring up are things like paraeducator training and certification and registered behavior technicians. And I do that, I look at other programs and I look at health sciences because we're very closely related, and they have an LNA, and I thought, what can I offer my students that would be comparable to an LNA?
Yeah.
And registered behavior technicians came up. And I have, I think, 3 students that are all various stages of the behavioral analyst thing. And so I had one come in one day and just said, we really need some help with registered behavior technicians. We can hire them right out of high school, we'll train them, and they get paid good money. I think
We're pretty desperate for behavioral analysts,
and
all levels of
yes.
behavioral.
So my hope is that if we can start at the high school level and get kids to this level, and then they can continue on and move up.
I've seen open positions for years and they aren't paid very well.
And they get paid, yeah. So I, again, have a human services collaborative meeting in May. I'll bring that back to the table and say, let's do this.
Yeah, that's great.
So did you want to say anything else about industry recognition?
No, I was just very interested in setting you up. So go ahead.
Of course.
Is there anything in an industry recognized credential kind of correlated to like case management or service planning and coordination? I just know that's also another desperate area of need, and I just don't know if there is something like
And
that.
I don't know that either, but if you remind me.
Okay.
I have 72 tabs open on my computer right now because I'm always doing things like,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
In terms of, the education piece in early childhood, we had our advisory breakfast the other day and Amanda was there and, I somehow managed to get myself involved now with the childcare counts. Not sure. how.
It happened to me too, and I didn't even know it happened a couple of years ago, so good for you.
You know, something that I'm actually looking forward to. I'm on the board at the Windsor Early Childhood Education Center in Windsor. So outside of here, I try to continue keeping my foot in the door. Maybe. No, I'm not gonna offer anything else. Oh, look, that was all I was gonna do, because then I was gonna open it up to lots of questions. Because I talk a lot.
So Courtney, I mean, obviously childcare, the whole kind of on a high level has received a lot of attention in the state. Let's Grow Kids and legislation that's passed and lawyers contributing. Are you seeing that manifest itself in any way in any increased interest for the kids you get or once they get in wanting to pursue this for a career?
No.
Okay.
I think a lot of it has to do with the stigma that's been around early childhood for so long. And I know that I get a lot of kids who might be interested, but their parents are like, oh, no, no, no. That's not something that you want to do. And so I try to remind my students, take it home, talk to what, your parents about what we're talking about here in terms of professionalizing the industry. Right now, they're talking about doing licensing for early childhood educators at the state level. And I think I have a lot of kids who are interested in it, but I think they're just still not high paying.
Yeah.
Yet. With the move to the public school system, that will then require the early childhood educators to have a teaching license and therefore would be a little higher on that ladder. And I know that in early childhood, we're working really hard to put the money into the centers so that pay can be higher. It's just really hard right now with private centers. I think some of the private centers are looking at that money going, oh, wow, look at all this money I'm getting. And not putting it where it needs to go. And that's my own personal bubble.
I mean, I think the blessing of all of this has been raising, and I just used the word childcare, and I meant early childhood education.
Mhm.
Raising the profile of it, helping people understand what it is and the importance of it on so many levels and professionalizing.
And that's the kicker, is professionalizing. And if we start at this level, hopefully, that can carry on. I think COVID taught us a whole lot about how important it was. And then Amanda and I, our conversation was about all of the home-based centers. And I'm sure you've heard about that too, and the fact that when they close, there's nothing to take their place because younger people don't own property. So how do we, because there's a lot of need for it still out there.
But likewise, the behavioral health got a lot of effort, got a lot of recognition in the legislature the year prior to early childhood. And so there was a lot of attention, a lot of focus, increased salary, increased rates the year prior. And now you're seeing an increase in kids wanting to go that
Right.
direction. So maybe
maybe
we're a
it's
year
like-
behind
Right,
in childcare.
yeah.
And
So, and I think so. I think it also, just since I've been in this job, the number of kids that come in wanting to do one thing and then get exposed to something else and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize that existed or that I really want to do something like that. So what I try to do is send my students out into the workplace. I have a couple of private counseling services people who have offered to do mock therapy sessions or have my students go and sit in on sort of group therapy. HCRS, I have a couple of connections there. Now I have even more.
I have some ideas. I think that would be great.
Because historically, it's been really difficult to get kids into that kind of field, just because of the confidentiality and the age of my students, and so it's been challenging. But I'm starting to sort of think outside the box and do things. We went to Kern Hatton this year for a field trip. And I had 2 or 3 students who were like, when I'm ready, I'm coming to work here. Again, Kern Hatton has a bit of a public persona that they're working on, but it was a great program. One of my former students that actually works there. I think Mr. Culver's wife
Yeah, she does, yeah.
works there. And so that was great. We're working on, getting to the Brattleboro retreat. This, and then I've just reached out again to Turning Point in Springfield to see.
Yeah, Mr. Culver was just down there probably working on your behalf earlier this week, yeah. Yeah.
Also, I reached out to Mr. Culver, to see if he could connect with Dartmouth Hitchcock. Their social work program, because if I like the 72 tabs I have, I went online and they have a program for master's degree students, but I thought if they're doing that, maybe they could take some high school students. Get some interest going there. Things, like going to hospitals and saying you don't have to be a medical professional to work in a hospital setting. There are lots of other options. Other questions?
Great. Yeah. So glad you're here.
Thanks. And welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Very happy about the master's thing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
and
Thanks.
Proud of you and
Thanks.
keep up the great work.
I'm gonna keep going until I don't go anymore.
There you
Oh,
go.
look, I'm gonna walk this. See what he does.
All right,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, it's 5:02. Call the meeting to order. Thank Courtney Leahash for the great presentation about the Human Services Program, and excited about not only what she's doing, but the things that are going to be going on in the next year or two. So thanks to Courtney. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
We do not.
Okay. Do we have any public comments? I'm remiss in not introducing our newest board member, Kate Lamphere from the Two Rivers Supervisory Union, Green Mountain High School.
Yes.
Yeah. So taking Lois's place, and maybe we should do
Good.
introductions. Kelly, you want to say?
Sure, I'm Kelly Tarbell, I'm from TRSU.
Obviously, you know us in the room, but Jess,
Jessica Burlew, I'm from the Springfield School District.
Desiree,
There it is.
Okay.
Desiree Giroux. I work at Magris Talc and I'm the Ludlow Greater member.
great, and Chris.
Chris Hodgson, I represent the Bellows Falls Union High School Board on this board, but I also teach at a rival career center that shall remain nameless.
I prefer calling them a sister center, but.
Okay, no rivalry, it's all good. Lots of love to go around.
Oh, I get it.
Okay, so and we'll do the VTVLC folks when we get to that. So welcome to Kate.
Thank you so much.
All right. Any other public comments? All right, the consent agenda would entertain a motion to accept, please. I see
So moved.
Jeff,
Mhm.
and I saw, it was Desiree, I think, do a second. Scott, anything on the consent
Our
agenda?
very tight surplus continues to grow. We're up to $911 as projected surplus. As far as enrollment, this year we are 16 ahead of where we were last year at this very same time. And again, very positive direction as far as enrollments projected for next year. We currently have 241 applications, and again, it's a little early. Last year at this time, we had 217, so that's 24 more students. And this is a trend that tech centers are seeing statewide. There was a nice story on VPR about, and it's on our Facebook page. Lola Dufort did a piece about, even though there's declining enrollment in schools statewide, CTEC's rise in enrollments. And my understanding is that Monday, there'll be more of a call-in show, and Jody Emerson, who is the president of the Tech Directors Association, darn, I missed that by a year, will be live on VPR for the call-in show. So again, it's a trend they're seeing statewide. One of the things that struck me is they were talking about the auto mechanic program at Central Vermont Career Center, is that they had 5 times the number of applicants as they did spots. And they said it's harder to get into that tech program than it is the University of Vermont. things have swung, there's some changes happening,
Interesting.
yeah. Check it out, you can stream it right off our Facebook page.
Any questions for Scott on anything in the consent agenda?
Also, just quickly, this is just a curiosity of mine. When Career Center has that kind of application, what is the typical process, or is there a typical process for filling the seats?
Well, actually, I talked to Jody a little bit about that. I'll tell you about, we testified last week together, and that, she looked at where the students were from, and if they were from the southern part of her region, she presented the option of them going down to Randolph, where there may be less applicants. So they're trying to be as creative as possible with that, but that still won't get at the students that are on a waiting list. They may offer seats and programs that are more, there may be more openings that are mechanically inclined, which the kid may be interested in because they always have a first and second choice. But yeah, some of the barriers are built into the rules and regulations, but some barriers are because there's not enough bricks and mortars built too. So, and actually, I did ask the governor a question about that when he was here the other day, and it was an interesting answer. Some of it, his contention is that because Central Vermont in particular is looking to build a new building, they are early 60s, I think, is when they're busting at the seams, obviously, and they're trying to build a new building, but the site in Barry next to Spalding High School is a great spot for that. So they're looking at more of a a place up near the interstate somewhere. He wasn't really supportive of that. He wanted it right next to Spalding High School because he felt like that was easier access for kids going to the tech center there. So a lot of interesting dynamics there. I think that we don't have as long a waiting list because we were built only 20 years ago with an eye on demographics that aren't from the 60s, that are more from time that we're in.
Thanks.
Good. Okay.
You got more than you asked for there, I'm sure.
Yep.
Any other questions on anything in the consent agenda? If not, those in favor of approving, please raise hands or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. All right, old business, VTVLC, Ashley, and if you and Melissa could introduce yourselves, please, for Kate.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Hi, Kate. I'm Ashley Newton. I'm the interim director of VTVLC and will become the director of VTVLC on July 1. It's nice to meet you.
Melissa?
I'm Melissa Sargent Minor, Director of Special Education with Vermont Virtual Learning Cooperative.
Thank you. All right, Ashley, what do we got for a report?
Our finances are remaining steady. So we are doing really well in that. There has been a small adjustment in our actual anticipated deficit. We originally had planned for $353,869. And that has now been adjusted to $325,493. And that has been offset by some of the revenue that has come in from our custom projects that we're doing with schools. So Christina and Nancy continue to keep us where we need to be. And we look forward to sort of exploring further our FY26 budget, which hopefully will be to the board May or June.
Great.
It looks like it wasn't a really busy month for VTVLC, but it was a busy month behind the scenes. So this is a month where all of our partnership agreements went out, setting up classes for FY26. But some of the events that we are participating in is the March Mammal Madness, which is something that I mentioned last month. It is taking off. Every week there's usually a new update around who is ranking and which animals are moving forward. And what it is. So we've all been vying to stay within the top 10. Regrettably, I did fall to position 13, but I'm hoping the polar bear will make a big comeback. We'll see. I'm not sure.
Bear too.
What'd you say?
I'm team polar bear too. My 7th grade got polar bear for the end.
That's huge for me. And my polar bears at the end. So thank you, Kate. I appreciate that.
But you are also 13 too, just.
He was 9 last time we checked, but I don't know where he is now. It's very stressful.
And it is really stressful. I mean, this event has like, it takes on a life of its own. Like, you start watching the YouTube videos, like you start tracking it even more. Which it's kind of taken over instead of my basketball love. Don't say that. Oh shoot, it is recorded. Never mind. It's actually right on par with my basketball love. So, I did want to mention that Sharon Rock did participate in the International Francophone celebration at the State House. That was an incredible opportunity. She is a proud French Canadian and was really excited to be able to go and represented VTVLC as well. So it's really nice to see that our cultural heritage can impact what we do on a day-to-day basis. The other piece too is that we've attended quite a few legislative breakfasts. I went to one delicious one at the River Valley Tech Center, and that was a great time to listen to our representatives and our legislators. And then I also went to one on March 17th at the Quechee Club. And again, our continued focus is on housing, affordability, and education. So those are just kind of the small updates from VTVLC as we've been doing some other things. And the last piece that I have here is if you look in your board packet, you will see our current enrollment numbers. As always, these are always sort of fluctuating as we go, but it is really exciting to see which schools and districts are utilizing VTVLC and which schools may not be capitalizing on all the full benefits that we offer. So again, we continue to do some outreach to ensure that they know what we have to offer to students and answer any questions that we have. And Bob, I think that's it for me.
Any questions for Ashley? Okay. Chris?
So just real quick, Ashley, I'm just going to ask you to keep us in the loop if it looks like there's some sort of delay in any, well, I'll speak for Wyndham Northeast. If there needs to be some prodding on getting partnership agreements in.
I will definitely let you know if that needs to happen. Next month, I will give you a great update on where our partnership agreements are. Kelsey, who is our digital media and data coordinator, will provide us with a great chart so that we can see where they are regionally, who's signing the partnership, which ones are still missing at the current moment. But we have been following up with a lot of districts about those.
Okay, great. Any other questions? All right, as always, thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Bob.
Statewide CTE update.
Yeah, this should be a pretty short one. I was asked to testify last week along with Melissa Connor, the director at Stafford, Jody Emerson, the director superintendent at Central Vermont Career Center, and Pat Gookin, who is the director at St. Johnsbury. Senate Education, this will be the second time in a month and a half at Senate Education. I think that Senate Education, and I think you just saw it in your school board update, is got a proposal related to how redistricting should happen in the state. I think it's one of 3 different ideas or more of how it should go. I believe that the reason that we were there to testify is they truly want to do something to support CTE, and they wanted one last listen from us. The director has updated their letter, and basically we're saying all the same things we've always said, but how about we see how this all pans out before we decide what model of governance that CTE should have in the future, which has been a pretty consistent message, while at the same time I'm trying to message to the directors, hey, there's an opportunity here too, and there's a lot of sand shifting, and you may get caught up in a shift that you may not like as opposed to getting out in front of it. But there's lots of big change in front of all of us. So we gave testimony. The Senate version, I think, has 20 school districts in it in some piece. The governor proposed 5. And House Education, I think they worked with the Superintendent's Association a little bit on let's take a little more cautious approach. give a little bit more feedback, get some recommendations from some veterans in the field on a timeline for 2029. It'll be interesting to see how it all sugars off as we close the end of sugaring season. But anything's possible. Again, I think that CTE is held in high regard and they want to do the right thing. And but we shall see. And I think that's it. We'll talk a little bit about some of the grant funding when we talk about positions, but our Perkins grant, it may be a little iffy given as far as timing, given what's happening on the federal level, and I'll dig into that a little bit more later.
Any questions for Scott on CTE stuff,
Yeah.
Kate?
I don't know how far you've dug into the 180-page governor's proposal, but is CTE included in that in any way?
It's referenced as a separate proposal. That
Okay.
The idea is to have one school district statewide. It started
For
as a
CTE.
BOCES and for CTE. I think the initial push by the administration was, let's get out and fix CTE as because it's a smaller entity. The directors are up for some level of change. I think they're interested in doing something. I've been saying, how can we maintain the identity of CTE, because it is unique in the larger system, and I'd hate to lose that in whatever governance model we move to. So yeah, there's a separate proposal that separates us into a separate school district statewide. But the directors are saying, hey, let's wait and see a little bit. But again, like I said, I'm a little worried about where that could go, and we get lost in the shuffle and get diluted.
Other questions for Scott? All right, it's only early April. They got another month and a half to go at least.
Or two.
Yeah. All right, where are we now? Spend down update.
Yeah, as most of you have been here, we're dipping into reserves to kind of get through a tight budget year because of some of the impact of the pandemic on our enrollments. And we're, like I'm telling you, we're coming back from that. There's been no movement there. We're holding steady as far as what we've expended out of the reserve funds. And as we close in on the end of our fiscal year in May, we'll have a pretty good idea where that sugars off with the rest of our expenditures. It will be tight, just a matter of where we are.
Any questions on that? Okay, teachers union negotiations update. We did have I think at least one meeting or two since this board. I think we have one, because there's another one got weathered out. Maybe
Yes.
rescheduled. So
We have another one Monday.
So we'll give you, we'll talk more detail in executive session about that. New business, letters of intent for FY26.
Yeah, our agreement with the teachers, this is the time of the year by the 15th that we have to issue teachers' contracts and letters of intent. There are a couple things that are at work here. So we have two grant-funded positions. The .8 outreach coordinators position, which is 100% Perkins funding. And I reached out to the state director today, Ruth Durkee, and said, what's this look like? She goes, hey, we just got off a call with the feds, and they don't really know. They think that the funding is secured for next year. But they probably won't know for a week or two, which kind of puts us on a different timeline of when the teachers need to know. We are in a year where we did our comprehensive local needs assessment, so we won't be asked to change our plan much. So this position will continue in the plan that we submit next year. It's just a matter of how much funding is forwarded to the states from the feds and how much the state disperses to each tech center based on the demographics of our populations in this region. So it's usually around $130,000. We hope that it's around $130,000 again. But as of today, the timeline is 2 weeks, or they'll be able to tell us more. I wouldn't hold me to 2 weeks because of so much is going on. So that's one position. We have another position, which is a 0.5 audio video production instructor. This is a time grant from the state of Vermont. This is to support the in-class efforts of the online program we're starting to launch with the support of the Agency of Education. That's a grant funded position, but it's done through a state grant that is in the governor's budget that we won't know until legislature gets done, because money is the last thing that they do. Usually that passes with no trouble. But the worst case scenario is if the feds back up and take other funds somewhere, what is the domino effect? And then the third position is that enrollment related is our information technology position. Right now, enrollments are down in that position. So I'm going to ask that those three positions we kind of hold off on and making a decision about. We have until April 15th. The idea is that we would hold a special board meeting to give as much time for enrollments to come in. If we do hear something on the other two positions, that would be fine, but it would be a short board meeting, hopefully April 14th, to really make a final determination about what we're going to do with the information technology position, whether we bring that position back or do some that, or we have to do a reduction in force notice. So what I'm asking for, why don't you go ahead?
Well, no.
I'll ask for, okay. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the issuance of teachers' contracts for 2025, 2026 school year at the current rates of pay until such time as an agreement is ratified pursuant to Article 24 of the agreement between the River Valley Technical Center School Board of Directors and Springfield Teachers Association, Vermont NEA, as presented. So those exceptions to that. Bob, did you want to?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I didn't want to make you read the motion. I think I'm going to reword it a little bit anyway, but just.
So Bob will clarify.
No, but just, so point one is, can folks put on their calendar for like a 10-15 minute, it could be virtual meeting on 5 p.m. on April 14th, which is a Monday. Anybody horribly object to that?
I probably wouldn't be there, but
Head nod,
I can be there, yeah.
head
It
nod.
should be
that-
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
What time are we talking?
5,
10 or 15 minutes.
yeah, very short,
on which Monday?
14th. Hi, sir.
I probably can. I will be in Haymarket, Virginia, visiting grandchildren and yes, my son too and his wife, but grandchildren. And but I think I would be able to pull that off.
Great, I'd appreciate it. I feel personally, it's important to wait till the last minute to see if enrollments creep up so we can avoid doing a RIF, so.
And we are going to do a little bit of a push and outreach for that particular position.
So Sarah, we're on new business, item A, letters of intent.
Yep,
So-
I figured that that's where you were. So
make it-
yes, I can do the 14th. My board meeting starts at 5. My Fall Mountain board meeting starts at 5:30, but
You'll be done.
I'll be in the room, and so yeah.
You'll be done by then anyway.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll plan on that as I look at Tina. Nikki.
Yes, I just was getting a message from someone else saying you can't be there, but it's not a board member, so we're fine.
Okay, great. All right,
I'll be
so.
in Greenville, South Carolina, remote.
All right, so I'm gonna just do a minor tweak to the motion. So I'll read the motion that I would ask for a motion on, or to vote to make a motion on. To approve the issuance of teachers' contracts for 2025-26 as presented at the current rates of pay until such time as an agreement is ratified pursuant to Article 24 of agreement between the River Valley Technical Center School District Board of Directors and the Springfield Teachers Association, Vermont NEA/NEA. Would someone make that motion, please? I
So
see.
moved.
Moved.
Seconded by
Of
Chris.
course, yeah.
I saw her hand first.
Mm-hmm.
It's different bargaining.
Any discussion on the motion?
So to clarify,
Yes.
as presented excludes the ones that Scott mentioned that we're still waiting for funding on,
Correct.
Yeah.
and includes everyone that is currently on staff.
So I'm going to re-say it the same way, but yes, you're right. It includes all people on staff with the exception of the people that Scott cited specifically.
Teaching,
The positions that,
teaching staff.
yeah, teaching staff. Thank you.
Teaching staff, yes, yes.
Okay. We good? Those in favor of the motion, please raise hands or say aye.
Aye.
And anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining?
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here for the initial discussion.
That's why I was waiting. All right, good, the motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
We got a lot going on. In like 3 pages, I'll try to be brief.
No, you're good. Good on time.
March is a very busy month, and as an educator, we always say that that could be one of the longest months of the year, but there's a lot going on, so it goes quickly. I got a nod from a teacher over here, so yes. More coffee in March. Criminal justice went to the Vermont State Police Barracks and the Emergency Communications Center. Our instructor is really looking at diversifying showing them all the different options, and he started out as a dispatcher. And there's actually a certification that we're working on possibly doing with the kids to just add a little something to their resume. Pretty cool stuff. We had what we call our tech time. We had another session. This is middle school, after school. We run a bus to Chester, for instance, sometimes Springfield to pick up kids at Riverside when the bus isn't running. This time around it was game making, carpentry, and health careers exploration. And Lara Peck did that in collaboration with the Southern Vermont Area Health Education Center. Culinary Arts competed in the ProStar competition down at NECI, NECI Culinary Institute of America. NECI's been gone for a long time, haven't they? Yeah. We had a student from Bellows Falls, Juan Lopez, won the burger battle. He is the Burger King. Students from information technology participated in the Day of Cyber at Norwich University, and it's an immersive cyber experience, hands-on. They attacked us. What are we going to do about it? Kind of thing. We had detectives do a polygraph demonstration. Mike Knott, a sergeant, and Ben Barton, also a detective, did polygraph examinations and demonstrations with the kids. Here's the best thing that happened out of it. Kids came in and said, "Mr. Farr, there's some guys in a blacked out car with suits in the parking lot, and we wanted you to know we were worried about it."
Good.
So I went up and told them, "Hey, if you see something, say something." I congratulated the kids, and they're kind of the rebellious types. So they were glad to report the police. Health Sciences too. All month they're doing rotations. They just went today to shadow in various departments, the hospital, ER, inpatient, pharmacy, etc. They did 4 sessions of that. It was interesting today. One of the students came back and we were in the emergency room a lot, and I felt like I was in on the privacy. I go, that's why we do the training about HIPAA and all of that. Now you know why. Yeah. They go, that's pretty cool. And it's great that the hospital, and they're really making an effort to collaborate with us, opens their doors like that. Criminal Justice also went for a visit to Southern State Correctional Facility, and some of these things are newer things that are coming back from the pandemic. Like the hospital hasn't been as open to us as they have been this year, the police barracks and all of that. Health Sciences completed in the HOSA competition, which is Future Health Professionals Conference and Competition at the UVM Davis Center. Also on the same day, our students from Advanced Manufacturing Engineering did a bang up job they got more prizes than anybody else that went. as far as an institution at Vermont State University for the popsicle stick building competition. I like it when they come back and say, we got more ribbons than anything else. That's great. Students from business and information technology and AVP competed in FBLA also on the 14th. We were thankful to all the people that help us with buses around here to get our kids to different places. Dave Kostrup, a student from business, was elected the FBLA vice president for the Southern region. He's a Green Mountain student. And we had a bunch of students win prizes. So Paisley Plummer was first place in insurance and risk management. Carmela Andrazi was third in the same competition. Colin Watkins first in marketing concepts. He also got an intro to FBLA prize and intro to financial math, and he's an intro student, freshman. And Carolyn Wade got a first place in digital video production. They all earn a right to go to Anaheim, California for the national conference. Health Sciences went to Dartmouth Hitchcock trip, and it was a hands-on, and it was a mock immersive experience in the operating room. Pretty cool. We recognize our students of the quarter for the second quarter. They're all listed there. And some of them are they're all from all the different schools in the region. We feed them a great breakfast for the morning kids and a great lunch prepared by the culinary arts students in the afternoon. Advanced manufacturing students took a big tour. They always go to manufacturing in places around the state. This year they went to Beta Technologies in South Burlington and Green Sea IQ Road, located in Richmond, Vermont. I looked up what they do there. Can't remember what it is. We had our advisory meeting here, semi-annual. We had Amanda Sidler from Working Communities and SRDC to do a presentation about observations in the workforce, the work that she's been doing, helping lead the working communities. We had 60 plus people here for that. We're getting there. Went to a drone competition in Windsor, Connecticut. We had teams advance to the finals. So now I think we have, is it 6 teams going to West Virginia? Yeah, we need to get a bigger van and bus to get kids there because too many vans won't do. We had Tricia Conti here, the director of Vermont Forensics Lab, to talk to students virtually about how that all operates and how they interact with agencies around the state. Kelly Broker Campbell, our outreach person, that's the position that's funded with Perkins. Did lessons with the 7th graders at Bellows Falls Middle on entrepreneurship and creative thinking. And I went to a bunch of meetings.
We also hosted the drone competition last Saturday.
Yes.
And there were 32 teams signed up and 21 teams made it because the weather was pretty bad. I drove down to it.
Yeah. And we had a school for the deaf. Where were they from?
Somewhere in Massachusetts.
So yeah, it was a school for the deaf that competed in this competition. Mr. Gray was pretty tickled to see how they made it happen.
They did really well, yeah.
Yeah, no, a lot of great stuff going on. If you don't already follow the Tech Center on Facebook, they post back today. I think they went to the state police, did something down there, or their barracks.
That's next month.
Anyways, I saw it in April. I saw it this afternoon.
You saw it on Facebook today. Yeah, check us out. The teachers are very good about giving me a picture to tell our story. We had the governor here for the governor's luncheon in our cafe. Made 10 minutes for him to come down to see a robotic arm that we bought with some of the gear funds that he approved. And we had all of 10 minutes because I always underestimate how much time he gets cornered by individuals before he can go anywhere. I was even like, hey, Tina, tell the people we're going to go tour. We're going to have more time than we thought. And then, oh yeah, it goes longer than you think.
And any questions for Scott on any of the things he mentioned? Chris?
Sorry to be dragging the meeting out here, but just a couple of quick ones. Can I get a list of those students of the quarter that were Bellows Falls students so we can speak to that at our board meeting?
So, yeah, what I'll do is I'll update this particular piece of it and forward it all to you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Can,
And
can you,
the
can
second,
can you do the same for me, Scott? For
Yeah, I'll
follow-
do it for every school. I'll just put the kids, I'll put GM, BF, FM next to it and send it out tomorrow morning so you can, that can happen easily. And Springfield.
and my second question is just a quick, on the drone competition, is that a race through an obstacle course, or what does that competition consist of?
Yeah. Derek was a judge. Go Derek. I could,
So part of it is their flight log, they do an interview, there's an autonomous skills course. And then they work in teams, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's an obstacle course, like you've got to flip beanbags off of pillars onto the right color. You've got to move balls from behind a screen with your partner giving you directions out around into the right side of a little 2 pens that they have, and then you've got to land on a bullseye and a box, all within like, I think it was 90 seconds.
yeah, there's different challenges. So for that section of it, the operator is only going on the directions that their partners give them. Am I right about that?
Until they get the balls out and around. It's really cool, Chris. They're little teeny drones, but I'm sure Mr. Gray would love to talk to you about starting a chapter if you're interested.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
And he's presenting next month, and I was going to have him focus particularly on the drone piece. And then the autonomous piece is they program the drone to navigate a preset
Yeah.
course, so they're learning coding.
Nice. Thanks.
Yeah. So I'll comment, I've been in the building a fair amount recently for these different things, and just I always appreciate and am energized by the atmosphere here, and people want to be here, and that's obvious. So I'm grateful for that. And on your agenda, you'll see a list of things coming up, and I'll flag May 27th, which is the National Technical Honor Society induction ceremony, and then the annual awards night. So that'll be late day that day. I think usually 4:30 for one and 5. So make a point of being there if you can. I know Jess has gone in the past. I try to go. It's just cool to see kind of a celebration of all the amazing things that go on here.
Gee, you may want to, I just thought about this. So next Monday, we're getting a lot of attention from Montpelier. I don't know why.
Capital for a Day.
Yeah.
We're hosting Capital for the Day. It's kind of turned out this way. We'll have primarily manufacturing folks here with Mr. Gray, with a couple teachers, with Mr. Gray, with a couple of kids, our co-op coordinator, Derek, myself, Amanda from the chamber. So there'll be a manufacturing presence, but then also healthcare. So Lara Peck will be here with a couple of her kids, a couple of her contacts at the hospital, and then representatives from the governor's cabinet, primarily DOL.
It is DOL. Yeah.
Primarily DOL. I thought there would be different people here. That'll be next Monday from noon to 1:30 in the cafe. But Kate, if
I'm
you
pretty
want
sure
to
I've
drop,
already been invited.
so if you want to drop in,
I thought it was in Windsor, so
Well,
I
there's
may
different- there's
actually,
different
I might
events.
have to go to the Windsor
Okay, it's like
one,
2 different
but
events,
I
2
will,
dozen events.
I'll check into it.
yeah, if that
might
one
divide
isn't a
and
better
conquer.
fit for you, stop by.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be pretty cool, I think. And the topic has changed from when we talked about this today. It's more about career and technical education, the future of that than.
No, it's more about career and technical education, what employers' needs are, and how
Okay,
you're
yeah.
meeting.
Okay, so.
So Capital for a Day, the cabinet and the governor go around the county for a day, and so it's Windsor County's Day Monday. And this is one of literally probably 20 to 25 different events that are happening in Windsor County. I've got to go to like 6 of them. And the governor himself will be at a few different events. He won't be at this one. I know he's in Proctorsville in the morning. He'll be in Windsor at 11. And then he's going up to
Yeah.
the northern part of the county in the afternoon. So, 'cause remember, Windsor County's big.
And all
So-
had to happen pretty quick, like it was a pretty
Oh,
short
yeah.
timeline to
I
flip
just
it around.
got notified today.
It's a lot of laughs. So anyways, good. Anything else for open session?
We're good.
All right, ask for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Title I VSA, Section 313, to discuss teachers' agreement negotiations because premature general public knowledge clearly placed people at a substantial disadvantage, inviting Scott and Derek. And motion made by
I'll make
Jeff,
the motion.
seconded by anybody else? Okay, Kelly seconded that. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise hands or say aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. We'll go into executive session. Thanks, Ashley. Okay, we're out of executive session at 6 o'clock. Do we have any other business to come before the board?
You want to remind folks when we meet again?
Yeah, I was getting to that.
Okay.
So our next, we'll have a special board meeting on Monday, April 14th, and our next regular meeting is on May 7th.
And we'll direct Mr. Gray to talk about the robots.
All right, our friends, the robots. All right, if there's no other business, we're adjourned at 6 o'clock. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.